Yo, so today I'm going to be breaking down a simple ambient melody for someone like Toliver or Nav, and then throwing some drums on it at the end. Alright, so before we start, I wanted to say thank you guys for 4,000 subs. I know we hit it a while ago, but I also haven't made a video in a while, so I wasn't able to say thank you. But yeah, we're almost at 5k, so I'm super late on this. But thank you. So the sound we started off with is the blues bell. I'm not sure exactly what kit this is from. I just kind of picked a bunch of random ones off Reddit and downloaded it. But overall, it's a really great sounding bell for these kind of melodies. And then here's the MIDI for it. Overall, it's pretty simple and it just consists of a bunch of offset chords and then some triplet rolls. So if I want to go ahead and remake something similar, I would start with the root note, just make a normal chord, and then copy that over and then put it up an octave and then duplicate the bass notes down. And then we can go ahead, offset it, and then bring this down. Then we can also go ahead and put the top note down an octave and then add in a little triplet roll. And that's pretty much the whole base of the melody, and the only other thing I added was a little roll here. And then just bring that over to the same spot and then put it down 5. Then we can just go ahead and duplicate it over again, and then one more time after that. And then we just go ahead and put the second half up 5 and then down an octave. So overall, that's the whole melody, and it's pretty simple. And then I went ahead and routed that to 1 on the mixer, and then added tape cassette with the wow and flutter turned up, finisher micro on the infinity preset, magic switch, which is a free chorus plugin, a love filter with the cut knob turned down just a little bit, halftime on the 1 bar preset with the smoothing turned all the way to the FX, and then the mix at 20, and then a EQ to cut the lows, and then an imager to make it feel nice and wide. Then I went ahead and rendered it out as you can see here, but I also did add even more additional effects. So the other effects I added were Portal on the jittery tape preset, another love filter that's automated, a gross beat on a tremolo preset that's automated, then another low cut and another imager to make it feel wide. And then I just did the automations like this, so it's super has a lot of movement and overall just sounds really cool. So here's what this sounds like. So overall, that's just a really simple melody that just has a lot of cool effects that make it kind of unique. And then for the next sound, it's the coda bell, which again, don't know what kit it's from, got it on Reddit, but another good sounding sound. And then here's the MIDI for it. It just copies the triplet rolls in the melody, and then I did Alt-Y and then said flip horizontally, just so when I reverse it, I didn't have to do any weird chopping. And then on the mixer for that, I have a little bit of reverb, magic switch again, baby comeback with a 4th ping pong delay, and then the tremolo again, and then a pancake. And then like I mentioned before, I ended up reversing this, so here's what it sounds like after the effects and it being reversed. So it's just kind of a nice high-end accent sound. All right, and then for the next sound, which is another high-end accent sound, is the triangle pluck from the Eclipse Serum Bank. And then here's the MIDI for this, and again, it's really simple, and it just rolls up the scale. I'm not really sure what scale this is in now. I think it's in G minor, I'm pretty sure, but it just rolls up the scale and it leaves some spaces, so it's kind of spacey ambient once the effects are on it. And then for the effects, I ended up putting Portal on it again with the Dream Reflections preset, and then this EQ to kind of cut off all the bad stuff because the Portal gave it way too much high end, but it still sounded cool once I cut it out. So after the effects and making the MIDI and everything, here's what it sounds like. Just a really nice spacey accent melody. All right, and then for the next sound, it's the rewind pluck from the Adapt Serum Bank. You just can't go wrong with the rewind pluck. I literally use it in every melody, but in this melody, I use it a little bit differently than I would have in like a hyperpop melody. All right, so here's the MIDI for this, and basically it just copies like the bass triplet pattern from the other melodies. So as you can see here, this is like the first little bit, and then these are just notes from the offset chord, and then I went ahead and copied the rollover, copied it over again, and then pitched it up 5 and then down an octave just so it matches. And then I ended up rendering it out without any effects on it and then double timing it. So I just adjusted this time knob here so it was half the length, so it speeds it up and it puts it up an octave, so it's kind of an interesting effect. And then I added more effects from there. So I went ahead and added magic switch, a halftime on the half preset with the smoothing turned to FX and the mix turned down to 96%. And then a shaper box, which is just a volume sidechain. Again, a Fruity Love filter, and this is automated on the cut knob. A gross beat again on the tremolo preset. And then finally a low cut just so it doesn't interfere with the 808. So yeah, I've been doing this a lot in my melodies and it kind of adds like a nice fast texture. So here's what it sounds like. So yeah, that just kind of sits in the background and gives it a bunch of energy. And that gross beat tremolo just kind of makes it have a lot of movement as well. All right, and then the next sound is an accent sound, and it is the Drive Wheel 1 preset in Kinetic Treats. And I'm pretty sure this is a free Kontakt bank, so you can look it up and go get it if it still is free. And then here's the MIDI for this, and again, it copies that same triplet roll that starts off the melody before the offset chord. And then I just kind of picked these notes at random, just whatever sound good, clicked it in by ear. So it's just a nice simple accent pattern, and here's what it sounds like. And then for the effects on that, I just have ambience with the pre-delay turned up just a bit, and then an old telephone EQ, and then another EQ because there was a harsh frequency right there. All right, and then for the final sound besides the bass, it's the Scott Sign Bell. Again, this is just a random Travis Scott one-shot kit that I found off Reddit, but it's a really good sound. And then here's the MIDI for it, and it just copies the root note and then goes up to this A sharp, and this is a slide note, so it sounds a little bit unique. And then this copies again that little triplet roll before the chord starts, and then this copies the normal triplet roll that happens after the chord. So again, a pretty simple melody, and then this is pitched up 5 in the end just to match that second chord. So here's what this sounds like. And then for the effects on that, I just have reverb with the wet knob turned up, this EQ to kind of cut out a harsh frequency and boost the highs a little bit, and then a magic switch just to give it a little bit of chorus. All right, and then the final sound of the melody is the Destroy bass from the Omega Serum Bank. This has been one of my favorite kind of basses for like these more dark kind of ambient melodies. All right, and then here's the MIDI for this, and there's not really much to explain since it's a bass, but I went ahead and chopped it up and added these little pauses just to make it a little less boring since the bass note only changes once. So here's what this sounds like. And then for the effects on that, I just have a distortion with the drive turned down just a little bit. So yeah, that's all the sounds in the melodies, and here's what it sounds like when you put it all together. So yeah, it's a pretty cool sounding melody, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So now we can get started on the drums. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. It's crazy how fast you lose your camera skills. I've made a video in a couple weeks, and this took me so long to do. But yeah, videos back to normal. Streams maybe on the weekend. Just depends. Also, I'm going to post TikTok and Instagram reels of like little parts of the tutorials the day after, so follow there if you want to see them. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a splendid rest of your afternoon. Have a splendid rest of your evening. Bye.